Hello and welcome to another video for Midas Touch Toys, Games, Collectibles. And today, well, we're looking at something that's now quite old, has become very, very collectible, and is becoming increasingly more difficult to find, especially in this mint sealed condition. We are looking at the 1999 release by Hasbro from their Star Wars Episode 1 series of 4-inch action figures. And this particular one we're looking at today is of Captain Tarpals, the Gungan captain from Naboo. And it's all based on the character as he appeared in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, also known simply as Episode 1. And it's a 1999 American space epic opera film written and directed by George Lucas in his first directorial effort since the original Star Wars film, or the original Star Wars trilogy, which was released in 1977, the first film. Now, the movie stars Liam Neeson as Qui-Gon Jinn, Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi, Natalie Portman as Queen Amidala, Padme, Jake Lloyd as the young Anakin Skywalker, Ian McDiarmid revised his role as Emperor Palpatine from the original trilogy, as does Anthony Daniels and Kenny Baker, who are C-3PO and R2-D2 respectively, and also Frank Oz, who was the puppet master for Yoda. Now, the series is the first film in the prequel trilogy and the first chronological chapter of the Skywalker saga. And it's set 32 years before the original trilogy and 13 years before the formation of the Galactic Empire during the era of the Galactic Republic. And the plot follows Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn and his apprentice Obi-Wan Kenobi as they try to protect Padme Amidala of Naboo to resolve an interplanetary trade dispute. And he's joined by Anakin Skywalker, who's a young slave boy with strong abilities in the Force, and they simultaneously contend with the mysterious return of the evil Sith. And the film ran for about 134 minutes. It was released on May 16th, 1999. It was the premiere. The cost of the movie to make was $115 million. And at the box office, it took $1.047 billion. So just a tad bit of return, 10 times its cost. It returned in that box office earnings. Now, obviously, there's a lot of characters in Star Wars Episode 1, and one of the characters of the Gungan army is Captain Tarpals. And this is the figure in front of us. Now, Captain Tarpals comes with his Electropole as well. But anyway, this is the card it comes on, and at the top you've got that Darth Maul image, which became the logo for Star Wars Episode 1. And it says ages 4 and up, Star Wars Episode 1. And it says now figures talk through a special reader with a Comm Talk Chip. And it says Captain Tarpals with Electropole, and you've got the Hasbro logo on the bottom right hand corner. Okay, that's the front of the card. Let's just spin it around and have a look at what we got printed on the back. Okay, so I'll turn the card around, and this is what it says on the back. So again, you've got Star Wars Episode 1. It says, a generation before Star Wars A New Hope, in a galaxy far, far away, an evil force is gaining strength and threatens an entire civilization. 2 courageous Jedi, a young queen, a Gungan outcast, and a slave boy named Anakin band together to save a planet under attack as the fate of the galaxy hangs in the balance. It says, Comm Talk, Star Wars action figures will never be the same. Now Star Wars Episode 1 figures have the ability to speak. The Comm Talk chip that comes with each figure and the Comm Talk reader sold separately gives you the power. Simply touch each figure's Comm Talk chip to the Comm Talk reader to hear your figure speak lines. Some will even interact with other figures. Now the Force is with you. And then at the bottom, it's got Comm Talk readers sold separately, produced under license from Innovision Research and Technology Limited UK, and you've got the StarWars.com web address and the Hasbro.com web address, and then you got all the licensing information at the bottom there and the copyright information. It's got 10 Hasbro Jedi Master points. Now, back in the day, if you collected enough of these points with a proof of purchases, you would receive a free figure from Hasbro. You just had to send away for it. And at the bottom, you've got all the relevant logos, the CE markings and so on, 0 to 3 years, and the item was made in China. Okay, that's the back of the pack. Let's turn it back around and let's have a good look at Captain Tarpals himself. Okay, so I've zoomed in on the figure himself, and I've also zoomed in on the picture there, so you can see the picture from the character as it appeared in the movie, and there you can see the image of the actual figure itself. Now, I think this figure is fantastic. The likeness is absolutely 100%. He looks absolutely incredible, and really is a fantastic figure with great movement and articulation as well. So let's zoom it quite close up and have a good look at him. And there you can see his eyes looking through the mask at the top there, his long trailing hair at the back, his beard, and then his warrior clothing, which he wore in the movie. Again with his arm cuffs, his wrist cuffs there, and down to his trousers. And we can't quite see his shoes there, but if I pick him up there, well, he's not wearing shoes, he's just got his bare feet out, a bit like his Jar Jar Binks. Well, he's the same breed, so you can see there, again, nice movable hands, and really does look quite nice. And to his left is his Electropole, which he uses when he's in battle. So a really nice looking figure this is, and I think Hasbro done superb on producing these figures for episode 1, considering the figures that we had, the Kenner lines, with the re-release of the original series. I say re-release, the remastering, the remaking of the figures, much better. In actual fact, I've got a 1977 original Kenner figure here of Han Solo, and then I've got the 1998 release by Kenner of the revamped figures, which is a Stormtrooper. And then of course we can see these 1999 release figures of the Phantom Menace. You can see how the lines improved over the 3 releases. So anyway, let's have a look at the size of the figure, because this one's quite a tall figure in comparison, because the Gungans were quite tall, and he stands 11 centimeters, which is about 4.5 inches. Across wise, we're looking at about 4.5 centimeters in width, and depth wise about 3 centimeters. Now, articulation wise, it's going to be difficult for me to see exactly where the articulation wise is on this, but I know his head rotates, the arms go up and down, and it looks like he's got movement on the top of the arm there. Or I could be mistaken that for a band. Yeah, no, so I think his arms just go up and down. It looks like the hands are soft and pliable, so they will probably open so he can hold his electro stick. It doesn't appear to be any articulation on the elbows. I don't know if the hands turn. I wouldn't have thought so. The legs again move up and down, and I don't see the feet moving, and I don't see any articulation on the knees. So it's a basic articulation that we got with the earlier versions, the Kenner versions. So the arms would go up and down, the head would turn, the waist will turn. I can't see whether the waist will turn on him because he's got the sash around his waist, and obviously the legs move up and down, like so. And I'm pretty certain this is one is pretty much the same, but obviously a much nicer sculpture figure than the other ones. And of course, don't forget you get that Comm Talk chip with it. It doesn't tell me on here what his wording is. Yeah, some of the cards actually told you what they say when they speak. It doesn't actually tell me on this particular one. But you do need a separate Comm Talk reader to listen to the volume from, or the sounds or the voices from those chips. Okay, now you're going to say to me, how well did these figures do back in 1999, Chris? Well, what you got to remember is we were hungry for Star Wars. We were teased with the return of the original trilogy to the movies. We were teased by the release of, or Kenner releasing all the action figures again, albeit that they were completely redone with better technology, better imaging, and better movements. So when the Phantom Menace finally hit the screens, we were absolutely overawed by this movie. Merchandise, there was more merchandise produced for episode 1 than the other 2 movies put together. Everything was released in Star Wars spin-off. So there was figures, there was clothing, there was toys, all sorts of toys, chairs, even inflatable chairs. There was writing instruments, there was pads and pens and annuals and comics and books and you name it. There was merchandise produced for Star Wars Episode 1. Mouse mats, mice, computer screens, pads, all sorts of things. I couldn't even tell you everything. There was so much merchandise that was licensed by Lucasfilms for Episode 1, and it was just colossal. The list would just go on and on and on, and everything sold. I say, because we were so hungry for Star Wars merchandise, we hadn't had really anything new since the release of the Return of the Jedi, other than obviously all the toys being reissued when the 3 movies went back to the main screen. But as far as brand new merchandise was concerned, as from things that we hadn't seen before, no, it didn't happen until Episode 1 hit the screens. So yes, everything done remarkably well. The figures mass produced, and again, they all sold. Every kid in the country, well, probably in the world, had Star Wars figures in their toy box. Okay, anyway, let's move forward to 2025. So we're going forward 26 years. Do these figures come up for sale very often on the platforms these days? Well, they still do come up on the platforms, don't get me wrong, in various different states of condition. You do find an awful lot of these loose figures on the platforms now, where they've been out, they've been either displayed or they've been played with, and whoever's owned them have now obviously grown up, moved on, and they go up for sale on the platforms. So it depends what you're looking for, really. I mean, if you're looking for just figures to display in a display section, then loose figures are readily available on the platforms, which you can pick up for practically no money. There's lots and lots of loose figures being offered for sale. If you are looking for mint sealed condition figures like this one, well, they're not as easy to find now as they used to be. I mean, 5 or 10 years ago, there was umpteen figures being offered for sale on the platforms. You could pick up any figure you wanted. They were all readily available. Nowadays, not so much. So they're becoming more and more difficult to find in this mint and open condition. And some figures are just so hard to find that because I suppose the run of the number of them that was produced originally was less than the popular figures or popular characters, they are becoming harder and harder to find, and they very rarely come up for sale. This happens to be one of those. Captain Tarpals was one of those rare figures that didn't seem to pop up for sale too often. Don't get me wrong, it did come up for sale, but not as often as the likes of Obi-Wan, Anakin, Padme, and Darth Maul, Emperor Palpatine, and so on. Well, it wasn't Emperor Palpatine then, he was Chancellor Palpatine. So, yeah, I mean, yes, they do still pop up occasionally, depending on what figure you're looking for and what condition. So, again, as I always say, if you're buying on a platform, do be careful. Somebody's idea of very good condition could be somebody else's idea of acceptable condition. There's a big scope of differences there of people's opinions when it comes to what condition is like. So just be very wary of that. Read the description and have a good look at the images if you intend to buy on a platform. And also, don't forget, some of the platforms do use stock images and stock descriptions, so you could be looking at an item like this. However, if there's no new available, they automatically go to the cheapest used item, and that may be a loose figure that is missing some bits and pieces or worn or what have you. So if it doesn't say new and you see the used link, click that use link and read what you're about to order, so you're not disappointed when it arrives, and you're not expecting something that is not going to be shipped. Now, that's not the fault of the buyer, and it's not the fault of the seller. It's just the way some of the platforms work. Stupid, if you ask me. I don't understand why they just don't make it as a used item or a new item as separate items, but there we are. That's some of the platforms for you. Or alternatively, you don't need to go through any of that rigmarole. You can come straight to us at Midas Touch Toys, Games, Collectibles, where what you see in front of us is exactly the item you would receive should you wish to order. And if we do have different conditions, well, they are under different product codes, so you cannot order something you are not looking at the time. Now, these particular figures we're looking at today, these were all part of a shop find. We bought out a closed down shop back in 2021, and they had a colossal amount of Star Wars figures that have been around since 1990s. Episode 1 figures, they still had quite a few on the shelf. They still had quite a few in the stock room. I think there was probably 150 different figures that we bought at that time, amongst Episode 2 and Revenge of the Sith figures. So there's a lot of figures that come from the shop, all ex-shop stock, all in pretty much pristine condition. Some do have a little bit of wear where they've been on a shelf. Some are case fresh. So have a good look at the item on the website. If it's something you want, and then you can order it quite simply by following the link below. It will take you straight to the website, where you'll be able to find this and many other Star Wars items, and many other vintage toys, games and collectibles come to that. There's over 10,000 products currently available on the website for you to view and purchase at your leisure. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button, because we're uploading videos for every new item that goes into the website. There will be something for everybody, and I'm absolutely positive this is something that you're not going to want to miss, because we literally have thousands and thousands of new items which we're shooting videos for and uploading on a daily basis. So if there's something in particular you're looking for, something old you've never been able to find, something quirky you might want to buy for a friend, or perhaps just something from your childhood that you'd like to own again to help you recuperate those long lost childhood memories, well, stay tuned, keep watching, because you never know, the next item we upload could be that item you've been looking for. Okay, that is it for me on this particular item. I do hope you've enjoyed reviewing this wonderful vintage Star Wars Episode 1 Captain Tarpals action figure with me. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next video. So bye for now.